Hi, horse racing enthusiasts. This is John. Welcome to the channel. It's been a little bit of time, a little bit of a rest after the whole run-up and meet of Saratoga. But rest assured, here at the channel, at the Horse Racing Enthusiasts, we've been working hard and doing our handicapping and following the industry. And we'll have some good videos for you over the upcoming weeks. Wanted to call out today is PA Derby Day, and what a great take that is. I think it's the best pound per pound money for big name, big day racing. It's a great meet. Usually it's a beautiful day. Usually they, the two $1 million grade one races, the Cotillion and the PA Derby. And then you have races like the Gallant Bob, the Turf Mile, and they have a couple other stakes races. So it's all the jockeys come in, all the good horses. When we used to live just outside of Philadelphia, it was a great opportunity not to travel so far and to go and see some great horses. So first thing is I'd encourage you to go if you can. Today, although it's sunny outside here in Southwest Florida, it's rainy up in Philadelphia. So the track conditions are going to be muddy. And it's going to be a rough day. But ordinarily, the sun's shining. It's the beginning of fall generally, and you get the races right there. You have a casino right attached. Beautiful casino, relatively new now, probably 5 to 8 years old, and it's just good time. And the more I listen to things in the industry, the more I get a feel for people who are going to this, and it actually is where the horse plays are showing up as well. So. If you get a chance to go. But today you'll be able to do it, on your whatever your app is. You'll be able to watch the races there, and you'll be able to have a good day. So sloppy conditions. We don't know just yet whether the two turf races, the 8th and 9th, are going to be off. We don't know. I suspect so. Maybe. I think it's the Turf Mile, the 9th. I think I'm misnaming it. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's the Turf Mile. The Alphabet Soup. It's a stakes race. It's a $100,000 stakes race. Mile and the 16th on the turf. So, but they have the Turf Monster. That's what I was thinking of. The 8th, which is a grade 3. So, generally, what they'll try to do is keep the higher ranked race on if they can at all possible. So, I think there's some, in particular at the 8th race, you have that Roses for Deborah, 4-year-old Liam's map. She out of a Bernardini mare. She looks really good. I really like the look of her. Right now you don't really know who's going to be in, who's going to be out, because here's what the owners are doing. They're analyzing, looking at the conditions. They're trying to think if they want to run their horse on it, right? And then, the track stewards are doing the same thing. They're looking at it and saying, well, we don't want any, God forbid we have any breakdowns. We don't want any issues, but then the other side of the coin is they want to run the race, right? So we'll see what happens. Last time I checked, it says it's on, but to me that just means they're deferring the decision. So 8th and 9th, we don't know anything about. I just put some thoughts together as it relates to sort of the sloppy track conditions, and I wanted to go through them. First thing when I'm handicapping a race in the slop is wet. I look at the wet Tomlinson figures on your past performances. So if you look at the running line or a horse line on a past performance, the upper right-hand corner, they'll break down wet, synthetic, turf, and distance, and they'll say the number of times that horse is running it, the number of times it came first, second, or third. And then bracketed next to wet, there's a number, and usually that number runs somewhere between like 250 and the highest I've seen it today, 470, 471, that kind of thing. So what's that number? That's a Tomlinson number. In essence, what it does is statistical analysis of the breed and its capabilities, projected capabilities of being able to handle that condition. So in this case, we're looking at the turf, the wet. You can look at it for turf, you can look at it for synthetic as well. But generally, the higher the number, the more likely it is. Now, is that a foregone conclusion? No. You may see a high Tomlinson figure in the horse has 4 starts in the wet and has 0 wins. So It's just a tool that we use in order to weed out horses, and it's not always successful. But you know what? You can also take a look at the record and see that, you know, maybe this Tomlinson number for this horse, who's four starts on it and with no wins, maybe that they don't like the mud. So anyhow, check out the wet Tomlinson figure. I just mentioned it. Look at the wet record. And this came through in the first race, and I apologize I didn't get this out sooner, but this is the general guideline. Anything with Spicetown, I love Spicetowns on the mud. People like them on dirt, people like them on turf, but I really like them on mud. So I saw that one already in the first race. The 9, it was a favorite, so no big deal, no big discovery, but you know, to keep your eyes open for that. And then I would say for the big races coming up, because we have Gun Night running, right? We have you know, even this Deborah, Roses for Deborah. You have you know, Saudi Crown running. I would not take low odds today. You know, at the end of the day, this is probably part of the same sort of angle, but stuff happens. And so stuff happens. You see it all the time on these kind of days. Don't take low odds. And then I would also look at, do you have a horse that likes to run on the speed and they have good wet numbers, not only record but Tomlinson? That's the horse you want to be on. So keep that in mind. So let's just quickly look at races 11, 12, and 13. So the 11 is the Gallant Bob. Great race, traditionally grade 2. It's on the dirt, so there'll be mud, right? You have it on the mud. When I did, oh, by the way, I will do my picks out just like I did when we were in Saratoga. I'll send them out after this. Sorry we're running a little late. We got a lot of things going on, but I wanted to make sure we got out on this day. What a day. I got my hat on, PA Derby hat. All right. So the 11th, I think a lot of people have gone, well, I kind of landed on, in the 11th, I landed on the 7. I think that's a little bit of an oddball selection. But I also am considering the 10. So a lot of folks are going to land on the 5, which is Nautical Star, and or 4 Damon's Mound. Now, if you look at that 4 Damon's Mound, the 4 Damon's Mound ran very successfully early on in his two-year-old career at Saratoga. Thought everything was going to go gangbusters for this horse, and just been mediocre until the last race down at Colonial, and so won the last race. So here it shows up. Has a Tomlinson of 394, so as it approaches 400, that's good, right? Its record is 2 starts, 1 win, pretty good. I like this 10 by Guadalupe, trained by Guadalupe Presido, right? Gordian Knot, right? And I like this horse because look at this record on this horse. It's the number 10. 6 wins, 8 tries, right? And now you're running at Parks, and you can argue that there are horses in here that had, run at other places, and maybe higher class horses. But it's 2 for 2 in the distance, 4 for 5 at Parks. Wet Tomlinson of 352, not terrible. It really has no experience on it, but it has a bunch of bullets. The trainer jockey ratio, it looks really good. The trainer percentages are all above 20. The graded stakes percent is even 50%. So I'm hoping that this horse slides through everyone's view, and I'll probably take a look at it. But I like the 7, 10, and the 5. So 7, 10, 5, and the 11. And that brings us to the 12th race, which is the Cotillion. What a great race. We've seen some great horses here. And pay attention to these races. And even though it's messy conditions today, let me just tell you a little story. Last year, I picked out Society in the Cotillion. And she went off, I forget, maybe 10, maybe 15 to 1. She was a speed horse. I liked her from the get-go. And did well with her. And here's the thing. When you handicap a race like that and you win, and you follow the horse, then you start to see the horse in other places, right? So I went and saw her at the Breeders' Cup, and she didn't do well. She was a little overmatched. She was a younger horse, right? So that race she was in had older horses, and we talk about the maturity of horses, and even the female horses, even though it's their 3-year-old year, and they grow fast, even though they mature faster than the colts, if you will, she's still behind the older horses in her class, right? In her division and in her sex. So, she was outclassed in that race in the Breeders' Cup. But then she came back in a couple of races. I saw her down in Gulfstream. I saw her in a couple of other races. She's running really well in Society, and then she just knocked the socks off of a race in the Midwest, and I had her again. So that was her last time out. So pay attention to the names. They're going to show up later in the season, and maybe it's going to be as a mature horse next year. Anyhow, sorry for that. Who do I like? Oh, this is a great race, and here's another one for you. And I can already hear a couple of my friends saying, "What's going on with this one?" This is just because you have a relative that has this name, but I like the 6, Just Catherine. And the reason I like her is she has a pretty decent Thomason at 343. So not bad. She has the early, get out, not on the lead necessarily, but get out, so she won't have a lot of work to do. She's running, in the 90s the last couple of races. Looks like she's still maturing. She's by Justify out of a Medigli Doro mare. And I just think that she's primed for an upset. I just get the vibe. Now, everyone's going to go on the 3, Pretty Mischievous. I think she's morning line 2-1, the 3-horse Pretty Mischievous by Brendan Walsh. I mean, Brendan Walsh is the trainer. Into Mischief, obviously, is the sire. This horse has a great record, has shown up on the board all 5 times at this distance. 2-1 morning, it's going to be under that, and has a pretty good wet record. So, I mean, what's the fun in that? If you're doing a multi-race wager, I would include her. But if I'm going to go for a win, I'm going to go for the 6, Just Catherine. So let's just say 6-3 I'm going to go. And then the 13, which is the Derby, is another great race. It's full of sort of, we don't know what's going to happen here, but it's full of all kinds of sort of twists and turns. Saudi Crown, by all rights, should win this race. Will get on the lead, seems to handle the wet okay. Last time came in second on a wet track up at Saratoga in the Jim Dandy, if you recall. That was the one where some contend Irad fouled to get out ahead on Forte, and Forte beat Saudi Crown, so just by a nose. But Saudi Crown should win this race again. That's another one. So put Saudi Crown in there, and then I like a couple other horses. I love this matchup, this pedigree matchup of a Gun Runner, which is also a Candy Ride, right? So Gun Runner. And then out of a Tappet mare, and I love seeing that. And you see a lot of it with Steve Asmussen. I see it twice here today. I see it in the 2 and I see it in the 11. And I see it in the 2 and I see it in the 10. And the 10 originally, kind of jumped off the board. Both have like a 471, 472 Thomason figure, so that looks good. The 2 is 1 for 1 in the wet. So what do we think about that? I think it's worth a shot. Irad stays on the 2. Irad has his choice to pretty much his agent is probably going out and getting him any horse that he wants to get on, right? And I'm sure any trainer will take Irad on their horse, particularly on some of these graded stakes, $1 million race, right? He's on the 2. So do I expect that horse odds will fall from 10-1? Probably, unfortunately. But Saudi Crown is going to attract a lot of attention as well. So maybe we sneak down and get something. So I like the 2. I like the 2 there. And I like the 3. And then I'm going to also say the 10, right? Also that Gun Runner Tappet pedigree. Again, 272 on the 10, El Miracolo. So that's it for today. Just wanted to get back in the flow. I'm going to send the picks after I send this out. We might miss the second race, but my apologies on that. Kind of out of practice, I guess, Also, it's a big card today. It was a 14-horse card, so it took a little time to kind of churn and burn it. So anyhow, I'll send out the picks. I don't really have long shot picks for today, so follow those that I just said. And again, it was 11th race, 7-10-5, 12th race, 3-6, 13th race, 2-3-10. Okay. Thanks, horse race enthusiasts. Thanks for listening. It's getting to be that time of year, so we're building up to not only the beginning of the Derby preps that are already started, but also the Breeders' Cup. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Thanks, enthusiasts. Be well and do well to track. Bye.